Welcome. Welcome to the Advanced Acrylic Painting class. I'm your instructor, Theron Cook, or you could call me TC. I will be going over atmospheric perspective, but before we get into today's class, I would like, since this is an advanced class, I would like to recap on some things that you should have an understanding of. One of the main things with painting would be color theory, the color wheel. This advanced class, we will not be touching on this, but you should have a basic understanding of the color wheel, value, tone, shade, and so forth. So just to give you a heads up. These are the supplies you need for the first exercise. As you can see here, I got white paint, black, and also blue. And also you could use your flat brush or your flat filbert brush. The only difference between the brushes is they're both flat, but one has a rounded flat edge, and that's your filbert. Okay, so the paint washes off with soap and water, and you don't need much paint to do the projects that we're going to be doing. Now, with your pencil and a sheet of your canvas paper and also a straight edge or ruler, I would like you to draw two parallel straight lines and make 8 boxes within a rectangle. You can number the squares above here, 1 through 8. This is going to be your scale. And what we're doing is a monochromatic painting scale. So we're going to use this color blue, and we're going to add white to it to make it lighter, and we're going to add black to make it darker. Okay? Okay, we're going to start with a dark value of this blue. So how we do that, we dab the blue, put it on your paper, your plate, and then I want you to open up your black as well. Okay, and then you're gonna dab a little bit, and then you're gonna mix it together. If you need some water to loosen up the paint so it mixes better, do that, please. Okay, I think this is pretty good. Not too much black, but just a little bit to make it a darker blue. And then we're going to paint the first square. And this is an exercise just so you can get a scale for our project. So you can refer back to this scale as we're doing the atmospheric painting. Okay, a good tip is to always wash your brush off when going to the next square, just so it's a cleaner, more vibrant color when you apply it to the canvas paper. There's really no right or wrong, but the end result is the main important. How you arrive there is, kind of your technique. Okay, for the number 2 square, what we're going to use is pure blue. Okay. And see how it's having a grain show through the paint? That's only because the paint is called opaque. When it's opaque, the surface wouldn't show through, so you might have to put 1 or 2 layers of paint if you want that effect. But this is more of a watercolor type of look right here, which is fine. But if you wanted a more opaque look, you would just have to do 1 or 2 more layers on top. But this is true blue right here. and we're going down the scale, so it's gonna get lighter. So we're gonna introduce some white paint to the blue when we're done with this square here. Try to stay in the lines if you can, it's fine, but that's one of the goals, is try to stay in the line there. Okay, wash your brush out, have a napkin on hand. Now we're gonna take, for the third one, we're gonna take blue, true blue, and we're gonna dab just a little bit of white just to lighten the value up for the tone. If it's too light, you can add some blue, not black, blue. And if it's too dark, you can add some more white to it. So I'm gonna add a little bit more white, and then I should fill the whole square. Okay, and we're going to continue this all the way down till we get to 8. Now as we go down further, we're going to add more white and just a little bit of blue. So number 4 is more white and just a little bit of blue. So you get a lighter tone or shade or value of blue. Like I said, you could put a couple different layers to get your opaque look. And I'll do one more just to show you guys the scale. Okay, so then you just kind of finish that up. Just keep adding white, just a little bit of blue. Make sure you... Okay, so after you finish your scale, 1 through 8, 1 being blue and black mixed together, and then 2 being a true blue, and then adding white to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, you get your scale. We're going to use this scale for our painting. Okay, now I would like you to get another piece of your canvas paper, and I want you to map out a rectangle within it, sort of like what I have displayed here. Doesn't have to be perfect, but I would like you to have a rectangle, and within the rectangle I want you to divide it up into at least 3 or 4 slices, and as you can see here, I kind of went on curves. Think of mountains or hills when you're dividing this rectangle. No right or wrong, just kind of divide it up, sort of like what you see here. Okay, and once you get that mapped out, we're gonna identify the foreground. We're gonna identify the middle ground, and then we're gonna identify the horizon line. I'll put one H over here. Okay, so, and then you could even put one more above the horizon line. Okay? Okay, when we're dealing with atmospheric perspective, I want you to think of landscape. That's what we're going to be working on. So I designed a diagram over here to kind of lay out what we just discussed over there. As the composition comes together, I want you to add one element to this diagram. I added a tree, and then I added another one a little farther back into the picture. When we're dealing with atmospheric perspective, the closest object that's to the foreground will have more detail, and then the farthest away object, or whatever appears to be farthest away, will have less detail. So I would like you to you could pick a tree, a boulder, or even an animal, but I would like you to design it where it's in the one is in the foreground and the other one is in the background, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so we're back to our canvas paper. As you have your scale below, hopefully, and we're gonna have our sketch above the scale so we can use the scale to finish up the painting. So the first approach would be to identify the foreground, which will be your darkest shade of blue with a little bit of black included, so that'd be your number one. It'll be easier if you just plot out the different sections with the number of the scale and work your way up. 2 will be the middle ground. You can blend 2 into 3 and use the scale as your reference as far as the shade and the value of the blue, and 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 all the way up until you blend to pretty much a white or a very powder baby blue type color. Okay, so I'm gonna start with my flat brush or my filbert, whatever one suits you better. I think I'm gonna start with the flat brush here. Okay, flat, and I'm gonna start mixing. So I'm gonna take some blue, a little bit of blue. Okay, a little dab of black, mix it together. Okay, that's good, that looks good. And all we're gonna do is fill in the areas where we marked already, mapped it out already. This exercise gets you to understand how you could utilize color and create an atmosphere that creates the illusion of depth, or create depth within, a two-dimensional surface. So we're going to create depth, and one way is to add your darkest color to the foreground or the bottom half, and then add your lightest color of your painting to the background or the above portion of your image. You could add water to it just to push the paint around a little better on the canvas paper. If you don't want to add too much water because you see the canvas showing through the paint, you could add more paint to it to make it more opaque, sort of like this here. can mix onto your canvas paper as well. What I mean by that is you could dab blue, put it onto your canvas, and really quickly add a little black, little dab, and then mix it together before it dries onto the canvas. Okay, once you're done with the first one, you want to wash your brush out and use your paper towel. Make sure you get the brush clean. So when the middle ground, the blue, we just refer back to our scale. This is the true blue, no black in it. So we're just going to fill this area in, all blue. On the whole area should be blue. So we're going to fill that in. It might look a little rough as you're applying the paint, but just stay with it, be consistent, fill it all the way in, and you'll most likely have to put a double coat or maybe a triple coat if you don't like the see-through effect or the transparent effect. A little water just to block it all in. Okay, once you got it filled in, just let it dry, and you could go back over it to make it more opaque and to get a flat blue. Right now it's kind of transparent and washed just because, you know, that's the first layer, and plus, you know, I added water to it. It brought down the opacity. Okay, a little bit about the horizon line that I mentioned earlier. Okay, when you note where the horizon line is, that indicates when the color blue folds back into a disappearing perspective, and that line should be the lightest, or it should be one of the lightest points of your picture. So below this line it'll get darker, and then above the line it will get lighter. So just be aware of that as you create the illusion of depth within a 2D surface, or 2D surface, creating depth to look like you could look back into the picture. Okay, so your finished result should look something like this on your canvas paper. You got your darkest value all the way to your lightest value. The horizon line is your lightest point, but you can still see the blending. And it takes time to get it to this level. I put several layers on each different portion of the picture to make it look like this. If you have any questions, I will post a Zoom link, and you could ask me any questions there. I'll notify you when